Hey, welcome back to Wartboard Woodworking. In my last video, I built the knockdown workstation that you can see over my shoulder. Right now, it basically serves the same function as a set of sawhorses, but we're gonna fix that. In today's video, we're gonna go gadget it out. We're gonna build a couple work surfaces for it, some material supports, and a mini lumber rack. Stay tuned. Let's start with the work surfaces. For the first work surface, I'm going to be using melamine. Since melamine is prone to chip out, I'm going to be making a scoring cut. The depth of the cut will be just thick enough to get through the melamine layer. Once that's done, I'll then lower my blade and make a standard cut. With the work surface now cut to size, we'll need to make some cleats for the bottom side. I'll now take the cleats over to the miter saw, where I'll square the ends, cut everything to length, and add a decorative bevel that matches the rails of the workstation. We can now attach the cleats. You'll notice I had a little paint left over from the workstation, so I went ahead and painted the cleats and the edge of the work surface. You'll also notice that I pre-drilled the pilot holes and started the screws. This is how it should look when you get all 4 cleats attached. The 4 cleats allow the work surface to be used in either height configuration. In the tall configuration, the inside cleats will hold the work surface in position, while in the short configuration, the outside cleats will hold the work surface in position. I'll show you what I have in mind for this work surface a bit later, but for now let's start on the second work surface. I'll be making this one out of plywood. This work surface is also going to need some cleats. Since I'm using scrap wood and I didn't have any as long as the work surface, these cleats will be much shorter than the ones I used on the first work surface. Here's how I ended up laying out these shorter cleats. Using a tip from John High's, I'm drilling the countersink first and then coming back and drilling the pilot hole afterwards. It seemed to work pretty well. I'm going to be using this work surface to dock power tools. So my next step is to make some L brackets that will hold the power tools in place. Right now I have a resaw bladed in, which is too big to make the turn between the L brackets. So I'll simply cut in from each side and then cut the brackets apart with a jigsaw. Now I'll finish cutting them out at the bandsaw. I'm going to use wooden pins to hold the L brackets in place. This little jig will ensure that all the holes are drilled in the same spot and are all the same distance apart on all 4 L brackets. Once you determine where your L brackets need to be, you can use them as a guide to drill a matching set of holes in your work surface. With all the holes drilled in the work surface, we can now glue the pins into the L brackets. While I wait for the L brackets to dry, I'm going to start working on some material supports. The height of the supports will be based on the tools they are used with. I'll rip this board to the height I just measured. Now I'll tilt my blade to 7 degrees and add a bevel to each side. When I'm done, it should look like this. I used sandpaper and a sanding block to soften all the edges. I then cut the supports to length and screwed them to their bases. And that's all there is to the material supports. Now I'm going to move on to the mini lumber rack. I'm going to use dowels to help reinforce the joint in this mini lumber rack. Here I'm drilling dowel holes on one side of the joint. Now I'll use that side of the joint to line up the holes on the other side of the joint. Now we'll just glue them together. I'm going to use 1/8" masonite for the sides. Now I'll just glue the sides on. With the L brackets dry, I'll use a flush cut saw and some sandpaper to clean everything up. Okay, everything's built. Let's go test it out. The mini lumber rack works. I like it. If I do this too many times, I'm going to have to change my name to Flatboard Woodworking. This work surface isn't just for my planer though. One of the uses I have planned for the melamine work surface is a sharpening station for my water stones. Since melamine is impervious to water and super smooth, it should make cleanup a breeze. You could use your workstation as a miter saw stand. The material supports and mini lumber rack will come in handy for that. Or you could use it for this. You could use it as a drafting table to draw and edit plans. Or you could use it to display a trophy from, I don't know, let's say the 2015 Christmas Ornament Challenge. Well, there you have it. Ooh, just look at that. That is one bad machine. I mean, Carl Jacobson ain't got nothing on me. Look at that! 0.25 horses of wood-turning fury! I mean, I bet you if I threw a block of wood at this thing, it'd chew it up and spit Christmas ornaments back at me. Woo!